Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Global Exclusive Podcast. This week we're going to be talking about the new units. Barrows, who are the new units?
I really want to say something funny, but I am so unfunny. Like, I can't think of anything.
Okay, yeah, I didn't have anything either, so
Damn
I
it.
just I just figured you
See,
might.
I let you down. You trusted me. You trusted me. You handed me the ball, and I just screwed it up. I am so sorry. But yeah, I guess the joke is there is no fucking unit or content this week.
That that means we don't get to talk about a unit's TM or STM revision card.
That has like, does that hurt you?
I might have to go cry after we're done recording, or
Yeah.
or
No,
during.
I
We'll
get it.
see.
Yeah, this is a safe space. You can cry on my shoulder whenever you feel like it. Okay, that's perfectly okay.
Okay.
But what did we get though? We did get something, right?
They updated Item World. It's better now. It's
Ish,
it's it's
maybe.
Well, it's a lot better than it used to be in terms of rates and modifiers. The problem is that what Item World really needs, and what they didn't change at all, is that it takes like 10 goddamn hours to burn your orbs.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they really need to do something about that. And it's frustrating because the changes that they made were not directly ported from JP. They were based on the JP changes, but they were clearly modified for global.
right,
And the
right.
fact that they put in this work and they didn't fix how long it takes means that they probably don't see that as a problem, and it may not get fixed anytime within, I don't know, the next 2 or 3 years, or
Yeah,
possibly ever.
the problem really, like, I think you hit the nail on the head there, where like there's nothing challenging or interesting or fun with the actual 10 battles that you do.
Yeah,
Like, you can bring any unit and just AoE all the bosses. It's like zero effort is required to do it, and yet it takes time, and there are even, like two stage fights involved in this, and it takes forever. Um, so I mean, I'm not a game designer, so I don't have any ideas for how to make it faster. But and then there's the engagement numbers. They want to keep players in the game, right? So I don't know. Like, I could. What about Item World kind of following the path of Cow, where you could add modifiers or difficulties in order to increase the rates, right? So that the actual highest difficulties might be, oh, you need to actually build a OTK veteran team in
I
order
think
to.
that would get really annoying for the same reason that almost nobody ever did the 50 units missions in whatchamacallit, Chamber of Vengeance.
Yeah,
People don't like farming content where it's not just like tap a unit, because if you have to do it like 2 or 3 times, maybe like 10 times if it's like a chronicle battle, that's kind of pushing
yeah,
it. If you're getting into 24 times a day, they can go fuck themselves.
yeah. No, I get it. I get it. It's really difficult because, like, it's interesting because the whole concept of Item World, right, came from, I don't know if you've ever played it, but there is a Japanese tactical RPG series called Disgaea. Have you ever played any of the games?
You know who played those games?
Sorry?
You know who played those games?
No.
Disgaea.
Oh my god, you're so funny. Okay, but
In
seriously,
in
did you
all
play the
seriousness,
games?
I only ever played the first one for like 15 minutes, but I do know of the concept.
Right. And the thing is, when they first announced Item World and people were calling it Item World, I was actually happy because I was thinking back to Disgaea and how it worked in the Item World. And I mean, it's literally just encounters that get harder as you go further. One of the big differences between Item World, our Item World, and this Gaia is huge, and I think that could be a change that makes it better. So, in this Gaia, well, let's say technically it's not endless, but let's say Item World is actually endless, right? And for every level, the bosses and the enemies you encounter get harder, and you don't get to refill your mana and HP in any significant way, right? There are ways, but like in general, it's a gauntlet. That's the term, right? It's a gauntlet.
Yeah, I think the
And
problem with that is a few things. First of all, like harder how? Like, do you keep throwing different enemies? Because if so, that just gets to the point where it's way too restrictive for team building because you need different things. And if it's just enemy stats going up, then that's just boring, and you eventually reach a point where it's impossible, but you're not really sure where because of the variance, and it takes forever to get there.
I mean,
I,
in this
I,
guy,
I
if I remember it correctly, it was just like level, right? So if you came
yeah,
in with
but
a team of level
Disgaea
50s,
had like more. I'm trying to think of the right word, like scaling,
or yeah,
because like I don't think that would work well in FFBE. I think it would
no,
be
it's definitely much more difficult to get like the scaling right because in a system that has like levels up to 999 or 9999, like you can just scale levels because you're as a player you're never gonna reach the highest level. Or I mean, there are maniacs that have, but like, and I'm just thinking because it was something that Unim said in our Discord as well. Like he said this thing that many others have said that would be a fantastic thing, which is kind of why do the modifiers on the items reset, right? Because it would be much nicer
yeah.
and easier if the modifiers just didn't reset and you get to just select which ones to replace. Now I understand why. It's again because they want to drive engagement, so they want you to play every orb because engagement drives revenue. There are clear connections to that. So
I
sure.
think like this would be a pretty much complete reimagining of it, but I think that they would like if they wanted to make it less frustrating, they would need to do it something where it's like there's I don't know 5 or 10 difficulties, and you only clear each difficulty once, and that gets you some currency, kind of like Dark Visions, but without the ranking aspect.
Right.
And then you spend that currency to give your items specific predetermined upgrades,
Yeah, but I
like
think
buying
that
Dark Vision
lacks a
buffs. But
bit of the
that's
RNG.
yeah,
That's the
I mean,
thing. Like I think they want
it's
that.
not random, and it's not farming, so it's completely unlike existing item world in almost every single way. But existing item world is terrible. So
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I get what they were trying to do. I really love the concept in this guy. If there was any way to kind of do the infinite scaling model in FFBE, that would be pretty cool. Because I can also see, like things like mana becoming problems after you've tackled 20, 30 fights or something. And the orbs can stay
not
because you can just
really.
have like one. I mean, imagine like so my problem right now is that I have spent all of my red pots and all of my orbs so far to try to run my fucking Sparky, right? Black Sparky. And I still haven't gotten a single good run. But I would have gotten a decent run if I could just like if I could have just kept running it and it was just more and more difficult bosses. And I don't know, like I think I mean I don't want to sit here and theory craft, but I definitely think that they could like imagine they could design five archetypes of bosses, right? Like a physical boss, a magical boss, a hybrid boss, AoE boss, single target boss, I don't know, like different archetypes. And for every level, you get one of the archetypes and stats that kind of keep scaling upwards. They start at maybe being like raid difficulty and then slowly going up until I guess the boss just becomes impossible to kill, which is fine. Um I still think that could work. Although like you would have like I mean, you would have the problem that it would take forever, right? Or that it could potentially take longer. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess another thing that they could do is just I mean this would probably be more of a Clash thing, but make a boss that you can't kill. Like you can't deal damage to it. All you have to do is survive for 10 turns. And I mean this would obviously not be something you're running 24 times a day, but like
No,
you
exactly.
just bring as much defensive stuff as you can, and the boss beats the ever loving shit out of you, and it murders anyone that tries to hide or jump or whatever,
Right.
and you just live for as many turns as you can. I don't know. I don't think that would be something they should do every month, but I think like as a one-off event, it might be cool.
You know what I was thinking would be cool? Like if we had imagine if you could bring one of your units. It's level 120, right? And like it's kind of battle royale style where you get to start on a large exploration style map and you like your unit wears nothing and you get to actually, open chests and get random equipment that you have in your inventory. So it could be, a platinum dagger, but it could also be Science STMR. And you don't know which one of them it is. You're just kind of looting and equipping your units and going along. I think that could actually work in FFB. That could be like a fun time waster game mode where obviously you wouldn't be fighting against other players, but it would be, like you would be taking your favorite units, equipping them as you go along, and trying to beat the area boss of each exploration map. And you're gonna get fucked by RNG, so you're not gonna beat the boss, and then you get to restart. What do you think about that? Would that work in this game?
I think that they don't know how to make explorer zones that don't have absurd encounter rates anymore.
Oh yeah, there's
I,
probably
I, I,
technical limitation there. Like it has to have like two steps and then and an encounter. Yeah.
I think that the reason why they stopped making explorer zones is because they couldn't figure out a way to make it give you more than one encounter per step.
Yeah. Probably, probably. It's a shame though, because the thing is, when the game started way back, I am I remember enjoying some of the exploration zones. Like,
I kind of liked them, but it for me it wore off really fast once I realized that there was never anything worthwhile to find.
yes, yeah, no, but that definitely broke the game. Like in the start, it was interesting, and I was doing the keys as well that you had to find in the
Mhm.
quests. But then, as you said, after a while, the illusion of exploration zones and quests actually having useful stuff
Yeah,
broke.
like there were all these hidden paths and stuff, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go down this hidden path and I'll find a
A
potion
potion. Yeah,
or
I know.
a weapon that's completely terrible and useless.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's a shame actually, because that could have been interesting content. Like I mean, that's a shame.
Yeah,
I really wish they would do more content in this game, and I do think there are many interesting things that they could do. Like I would love a battle royale mode. I would love a infinite survival mode that you described, where I could just get to gear my party for survival. Maybe like not just survival, maybe you also need to do some damage, so you just don't bring, a beefy tank and five support five support units. But that I really like what you said. Like there is this, you just need to survive and get to do that, because we have a lot of OTK content and a lot of content that depends on just doing damage. So why not just surviving? That could be
yeah.
interesting.
I mean, it might be one of those things where it just end up being terrible, but
I mean, there are plenty of bosses in Final Fantasy games that are like that, right? Where you're actually just supposed to survive in order to win. You're not supposed to kill the boss.
yeah. Although I think part of the problem is that you would need to very clearly message that that's what's going on. Because sometimes in Final
Right.
Fantasy games, that's a problem. Because you'll be thrown into a boss fight, and it is not clear that you can't win.
Right. Well, they do that in the red room for the red crystals, the defense challenges. They are like that. Like you just need to survive a lightning burst. So you need to have 100% lightning resistance basically.
I guess, but I mean,
But
those
you're
are
right.
so
Like it would
trivially
have to be
easy.
like super clear. It would have to be like survive for 10 turns basically. It would need that would have to be the name, and
Yeah,
different difficulties, so that everyone from, the beginners to veterans could have a some type of challenge where it's actually challenging. That would be
yeah,
interesting. I'd love a trial like that. Honestly, I would love a trial like that. That would be so cool.
yeah. There was something else on our calendar, unless you have something else to say about Item World,
No,
though.
yeah. We should just say what actually happened as well, like in technically what happened with the item world. Sorry, everyone, for going on a tangent. So I think Muspel, you mentioned it already, but what they have done is they have added a bunch of rares that are weapon independent, meaning you can get them with any weapon that you run. So, for instance, there is an attack and magic 30% rare, quite powerful, and you can get that, and you can get multiple rares now. So you can actually get the weapon rare, a one of the weapon agnostic rares, and a normal stat. So, for instance, Black Sparky's theoretical max attack stat now would be 40% from the gun rare, 30% from the highest attack magic rare, and then 20% from the new highest attack standard stat, right?
Hmm.
So that's like
Yeah,
90% attack on a single
yeah. You
item.
still can't get multiple copies of the same rare, but you can have
Yeah,
separate ones,
exactly.
obviously.
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. But, and here's the big but. Here's the big but. The rares dilute the rare pool. So before, when you got a rare, you got the rare of that weapon. So if you got a rare with a gun, you got the 40% attack, right?
Hmm.
Now, if you roll a rare, you first roll, like, first you secure the rare roll, and then you roll one of the rares of the rather large pool of rares. I think there's like weapon specific plus six more, seven more, maybe. I don't know. Um, and the rare ratio, like how often you get rares, has not increased by like a factor of eight, what I could tell. So it's actually more difficult to get rares now, like the relevant rares, which really annoys me. However, since they also raised the stat limit to 20%, remove the lowest percentages like the 1, the 3, and 7, what now happens is that we get you get okay average runs is I guess what the point is.
Hmm. I'm looking at the past rates. So I want to see if they changed. It looks like it's about the same because the December event says rare rate was 1 in 6, and now it's still 1 in 6.
Oh, so wait, rare chance didn't even increase.
Assuming the wiki is right. I don't know if it is. It could be they're just using the placeholder old version.
Okay, that should be confirmable in game though, right? Like there is an in-game button
Yeah.
for the rares. But okay, that's really good because if the wiki says 1.7, right? That's what wiki said. 1.6.
1 in 6.
Oh, 1 in 6. Sorry. Wait, what? 1 in 6? That sounds way
Uh,
too.
for a full 10 orb run.
Okay.
You have
And
about a 1 in 6 chance of getting a rare.
okay. And let me now see. Okay. Oh shit! But I would have to do the math here because like it seems like there is the rare probability is now. It seems to be okay. So it's kind of like it starts at 0.6 for level 1
Yeah, that's what the wiki
and
is
2,
showing.
0.9 for level 3 and 4. 5 and 6 have 1.2, 1.5. Then 7 also has 1.5. Then 3.3. And then 4.65 on 10. Is
Yeah,
that.
that's what the wiki says. So
But then it hasn't changed.
I guess not.
What?
Unless
But.
the in-game thing is also wrong, which I mean, who
Okay.
knows?
It could be. It could be. But if it hasn't changed, that's actually horrible. I
Well,
mean,
they also removed the lower percentages, and now there's up to 20% stats that you can roll just as like normal things.
yeah, I mean you're gonna get better average runs. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But like the absolute best runs are gonna take forever now.
I
Since the
mean,
rare rate is the same, but it's or rather the rare
that's
rate is
true,
not the
but I
same. It's like 1 in 8 now. Like it's lowered by a factor of 8 right now because you have to
I
roll
guess
among 8 rares.
I feel like people focus too much on the absolute best in slot rolls. Like, yes, it's harder to get best in slot, but practically speaking, you don't ever need that. Like, period. Units cap with good rolls.
Sure.
Like, unless you're gearing a really weird unit that just has like straight up no passives, or you cannot fit in any materia or item that has any percent attack and magic. Like, you really only need like what, 40% magic or attack on your weapon and you're good, especially if it's a dual wield unit.
Yeah. Okay. But here's the problem. There are cases where you're equipping a unit with not their favorite weapon. Like you're equipping a gun to Sky is I guess the most common. But also like maybe you're giving someone a fist, and there it becomes really important to have the high stats though. And there's a big difference between like Black Sparky giving you 90 and Black Sparky giving you 40 attack, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even if you're missing like 20 or 30% attack from being capped, that's people act like being capped is vital or that it's some kind of breakpoint where your damage increases. It's really not.
Well,
Like
the people that care about top scoring do, right? I mean, there
like
it matters.
I'm not saying it doesn't affect things, but people sometimes I feel talk about it as though having a unit that is not capped is like that extra 10% attack from going from 390 to 400% will somehow increase their damage massively, and it doesn't. It's obviously better than 390%, but it's not a breakpoint. There's nothing that fundamentally makes 390 to 400 different from 380 to 390.
Right. No. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but I'm also saying that there are people that do care about the even small changes in stats. And the fact is that before this item world, it was, or I mean, if the rates are correct in game, it means that people would have an easier time having a good attack roll on Black Sparky before this item world than after. Because before, at least you would be guaranteed the gun plus 40% attack rare, right? Whereas now you might be getting the 2 LB per turn rare, which you're going to be fucking
I'm
mad
not sure
about.
that's true because we don't know how they adjusted the rates of the other modifiers. Like, because before you got a lot of 1 and 3% rolls for stats. And if you're now getting
Mm,
like 5 and 10% attack with similar regularity, and or even 15 or 20%, that changes things a lot. So you might end up with more attack than you would get previously on average on an
no, no,
okay but not
I
amazing
think
run.
that's true. I definitely think you get more power on average, but like even the worst rare run of Black Sparky before, which was that was like just 40% attack and nothing else, that's still very powerful. Whereas now you have to really luck out to get 20, 15, and 10, which would be the highest now. And that's just slightly higher than just getting a rare previously, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but
it's not that easy. Like the 20s are not often. Like I mean, I've run a lot of orbs now. You don't see the 20s that often. Not even the 15s. It's like I honestly, this is just my personal experience, so obviously no statistical data here. I feel I'm getting worse runs now, like for everything. I've run the Black Sparky, and then when I get tired of it, I've run Cacteria's gloves, and honestly, holy shit, I think they fucked up. I think the rates were supposed to be much higher.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've already talked about how I think Item World sucks. I'm not gonna defend it, but I do think that these changes were positive, like overall.
Yeah,
I just think
yeah,
that they changed the wrong thing.
yeah. But Sinzar was saying on Newsday that in JP when they did the rate change, like he would get a rare once every 2 runs, like really often. And I've done I don't know 20 runs now.
It could also
Maybe
be
not 20, but
that
something.
the listed chance of a rare is the chance for each individual rare and not the chance for all rares combined.
Ah, okay. So in that case, it's still the
Maybe
same
I don't
chance to
know.
actually get the gun 40%.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
no, but that makes sense.
maybe
That
it's
makes
like
sense.
maybe on 4-1 it's 0.6% for each individual one. So there's what,
Right.
four rares?
No,
So
but
that would
that
be,
makes sense. That makes sense because then it would be just as rare to get the gun rare, and I've just been unlucky, I guess, and haven't gotten the rare. But that also means that yeah, okay, that would be fine, I guess. But let's see. I would like some confirmation. I don't know. I guess people are gonna start sharing their experiences as it's only been 3 days, I guess. So not
yeah.
everyone has had to test it fully,
I
but
I think the other thing that you'll see is that people have been doing this event for like 2 days at this point as we're recording, and they're trying to extrapolate what it's going to be like for an event that we're going to have running monthly for probably years.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, it sucks to not get your weapon done, but they don't want you to. Like
right.
they want you to keep doing this every month. And from a player's point of view, that sucks, but it's intended.
No, exactly, exactly. Good point. Yeah, I think we can move on from this because we
Yeah.
also had some good questions. Do you want to take that?
Yeah. So one of our listeners, mostly Sean, asked, "Were the banner skips to get global to NV faster a mistake? Did breaking the crystal ball break the game?"
I
Um,
think that's a super interesting question.
yeah. So for context, for those that aren't aware, um, after NV came out in JP, in global they started kind of doing like a speed run of the JP schedule. They skipped a lot of banners. There's 5-star base units that we never got in GL, like 5-star Cloud of Darkness. Some of them later got released in the NV era, like we got Cleome and Daisy and Poppy, but those originally came out like during the 7-star era in JP.
Right,
Uh, and the gap between global and JP used to be about 9 months, and
right.
now it's much shorter. I think it's like 3 or 4, maybe two or
Yeah,
three.
around three, I think. Or I mean, I'm not an expert, but that's what I hear. And just to explain, or I mean, this is probably obvious. People are smarter than I am, but I would have needed this explanation. The reason why they speed ran the schedule was because people were, of course, using the JP units as a crystal ball to know what to hoard for, what to save for. So people would, skip banners that would actually have been powerful just because they know that the week after there's a more powerful banner. So they were
Yeah,
saving for that.
it got like so I think that this aspect of breaking the crystal ball was good for the game. Like on the one hand, yes, it means we spend lapis on units that end up getting power crept quickly. But it also felt really bad to be sitting there and be like, okay, so for the next 3 months, I'm not going to pull on any damage dealer because I know Heo is coming. Why would I pull on
Exactly.
anybody before then? I'm just going to sit here and all these banners are going to come out and we're going to stare at them and say that these units suck, even though they're good today. But like it sucked to be in a situation where the right decision was always to never pull, because pulling is fun.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, obviously the game exploits that with trying to target people who
Empty
have gambling problems
resources
and
and
so
so
on.
on. Yeah,
But
of course.
it is fun to pull.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. And I fully agree. I like the thing is you could always argue that it's quite toxic when it actually happens that you pull on a unit you like and it becomes obsolete the next week. And by I don't mean like crept, because crept is not obsolete, but actually, like crept with a factor of 3. Because
yeah,
that's what has happened obviously a couple of times in this game. And so I agree with you there. I agree that the lack of knowing JP schedule fully helps me just enjoy pulling more, and I can
yeah.
enjoy for units I like.
It's
But the crystal ball isn't fully broken though. Like we still know some things to expect. Like, or rather, the speed up from JP didn't break the crystal ball fully; just broke it kind of, or just made the time
I
span
think
shorter.
I think it did a couple things. First off, the gap from JP used to be so long that like JP already had retrospective on units like months before they were going to come out in GL. Like JP could
Yeah.
say this unit that came out 7 months ago, like we hyped them at the time, but then they didn't really do much. And
Right.
now
Right. Right.
that'll never happen. Like we know what's coming from JP, but they don't really have the time to let attitudes cool off or let the unit get power crept and kind of look back and say, okay, how often did we actually use this person? And that
Exactly.
did,
Like,
even back in the day, that didn't happen all the time, but it still happened some.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's unlikelier that a unit like, a premium unit like Sephiroth or Auron or Tyvus would get crept within 3 months in such a fashion that you would feel I'm not gonna pull for this unit, right? Like
Yeah,
that would have to mean that there's a unit that comes out and does like 50 to 100% more damage than Tyvus. And maybe that, I mean, that's probably still gonna happen because some of these games, like some of their best revenue comes from releasing a unit that's just mind-bendingly broken because everyone pulled for it. So of course that's a way to drain the hoarder's lapis and to get whales invested, and that's kind of the tool they didn't have anymore when we had the crystal ball.
yeah.
But there's
I
another.
think
Oh, good.
I think one of the biggest effects of this though was that back in the day, it like looking at the JP schedule and knowing what was coming out, that was a really big deal. Like if you wanted to see the shape of the game, to know more about it, you looked at the JP schedule, you looked at the units that were out there, you read their kits, and you knew where the game was going to go for probably like even though it was only 9 months ahead, you probably knew like at least a year or so what units were going to be relevant.
Right.
Nowadays, like even if you don't look at the JP schedule at all, you're not really missing much info. I have not. I know basically nothing about any of the units that are out in JP that aren't out in GL. Like I know that there's a couple damage dealers, like Knights of Grand Shell does light damage. That's pretty much the only JP unit I've heard anything about,
Right.
and I don't feel like I'm losing out on huge amounts of info by not knowing the other ones. Part of that is also
No,
just because all the units in JP have the most bare bones, boring kits imaginable, but still.
exactly. That helps. It helps that the units that come out are actually not fun. But I mean, I remember us doing this podcast, and even before the podcast discussions in Wiki Ratings, when I was still in that channel, actually actively discussing, like we were actually using this as arguments. Like knowing the fact that hey, this tank is still incredibly strong in JP, right? And that means like shelf life is amazing.
Yeah,
But we can't do like that argument doesn't hold anymore. Now we have to kind of judge the unit based on the content today and what might come. Now, of course, I do want to say that's a lot more difficult now because we are not getting trials. So the only thing we can judge units on is based on like DV performance, which of course shits on tanks in most cases and stuff like that. That's a bit annoying. But that's a different like that's a different topic of like us not getting trials anymore. Um, but there's another thing that's also a bit negative with the whole speed running of the schedule, which is that I mean we actually lost out on a lot of events though. Like we missed story events and similar things that exist in JP that never came to GL. And I know like people might laugh and say like yeah, but who gives a fuck? Like they're low quality, but it's still content we've missed. And I don't think all of it is low quality. I think we've had some really good story events. So that's a drawback to me, of course.
yeah. Um, and the other thing, I mean, we've talked about this before, but to go into a little bit more detail than maybe we have in the past, the other thing that changed it obviously is Clash and global exclusive units, which they've really doubled down on, and that's changed the game a lot.
Yes, yes. I would argue, like, to Sean's question, I would say that the crystal ball changed the game, but cow broke or changed the game a lot more. Like a lot more, because JP players, they are frustrated, especially Sinzar. You can hear him sharing these frustrations all the time, where JP is literally all about DV and the bare bones bullshit boring unit kits, right? Um, and that's not fun to pull for. But when we got cow, what happened is that many cow units are obviously must-haves for the cow. I complained about this last week, where they're really designing units now blatantly to be required for that cow. And but they're also good outside of cow. So one thing I am really feeling, and like people like Sinzar, they're saying it openly, and many other YouTubers are saying it openly too. Like, you should pull for GLEX. You should pull for the cow banners. Like, don't pull the JP units. You don't need Tyvus. You don't need Auron. You don't need Sephiroth. You can
and
just fucking bring Sky and Lara and Carton and shit on everything anyway.
and not just that, like don't just skip the JP banners, maybe skip the fragment banners too. I see a lot of people pulling on those. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that getting EX1 of the latest cow unit is going to make a lot more difference than you getting some older unit to EX2 or EX3.
For sure. And like, so far, the trend has been that every cow unit that has been a damage dealer has also been a decent damage dealer in DV, right? So, I mean, it all comes down to how much you care about DV, of course. Like, if you care about top scoring, then yeah, you're gonna need the premium units. Like, you're gonna need the Tyvuses and Aurons. Um, but if you don't care about top scoring, like if you just pulled for the cow units, you're gonna, like, I mean, Sky, when Louise came out, she still hit hard in DV, right? Lara, same. Well, okay, Lara is fucking broken. She always hits hard. But like Carton, also fucking broken. Um, Sky also did good damage in DV. So my point here is that I've been complaining a lot about Gumi's short-sightedness and their focus on short-term revenue. But I think that this very focus on short-term revenue and designing these powerful cow units where the cow is designed fully to that unit also dilutes their revenue, because many players just don't see the point of wailing for the premium units or the JP units. So Gumi has now told us through the people that chill in the Discord from Gumi, that they are just going to be copying shit from JP because they don't care, because their main focus, this is almost verbatim, is on the GLEX cow units because they bring in the revenue.
I wonder. I have nothing to base this on. This might just be me talking out of my ass, but I wonder if like Gumi gets a larger percentage of the revenue from global exclusive units.
Oh,
Like,
that's a good point,
is there some
actually.
kind of licensing deal where like where Alum says we designed this unit so we get 30% of the money spent during these banners instead of 25% or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I
that's a very good point, Muspel. Actually, I never thought about it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, in many ways, actually. Um, that's actually, yeah, that's insightful. It could absolutely be so that either Square and or Alim get a larger cut of units that are not designed
yeah.
specifically by Gumi. Although we
The
also
other question
know,
would be how do global exclusive buffs play into that if true, which again
right,
I
right, right.
no clue if it is.
I mean, they have buffed units before from JP, but now, like, it wasn't described as a way to, like, that they would lose revenue on it. It was just described as in, we're putting all of our effort into the units that sell better, which is the cow units right now. And I'm just afraid that that this is kind of a self-imposed problem as well. Like, they have to make these ridiculously connected cow events and units, making it a bit anti-fun to actually play cow if you don't have that unit. Um, because they feel those are the only units that sell. But I mean, part of the reason those are the only units that sell is because they make them so powerful. And if they
Yeah,
didn't, there would be more reason to pull, Tivas, for instance.
yeah.
And if there were ways to also, like, give Tivas morale scaling, I don't know. I shouldn't be theory crafting here, but like,
I mean,
I
I
think the
guess
problem is that.
I am okay with them basically abandoning premium units and saying we don't care if people don't pull on these because I hate premium units. It
Sure, sure.
sucks.
Agreed, agreed,
And
agreed.
the other
But
JP
I don't
units,
hate
like,
the units though. I don't like that's the thing. Like I think I actually enjoy the latest season, the story in the latest season. I actually enjoy Tybus as a character. I think like I like having a Tybus, but I hate the fact that he is just shit on by everything and or well, okay, shit on by everything is an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Like that in fact there is very little value in a Tybus compared to having the latest cow unit like Chow.
yeah.
Although Chow, yeah, okay.
I don't know. I guess I've just never really cared about using units because of their character. Like, that's never
I
been
do
a
I
thing
do
for
that
me.
a lot though. That's the thing for me. Like I do that a lot. So for me, it's a bit different. Like I saw some of the JP on the JP schedule, they're getting some of the other story units, and they have fantastic design. So whoever is designing units now is actually like using this War of the Visions slash I don't know, Final Fantasy Tactics slash more mature design, right? I really enjoy that. The units look amazing. I would love to have them, but I'm feeling right now that actually no, I shouldn't be pulling for units I enjoy because I know they're gonna just suck so fucking hard compared to the cow units. And you know what's gonna happen? Like we've already seen this in the news. It's basically confirmed that we're getting a Vision World this month, right? Which means either Legend of Mana or Xenogears. And my money's on Xenogears because who the fuck cares about
I
Legend of
mean,
Mana?
it could also be Katy Perry.
They could be Katy Perry. You're right. Like, or I mean, like it's absolutely possible. But here's the thing. So I absolutely adore Xenogears. People that are on our Discord know this. Like that's it's my favorite JRPG of all times. Like I would fucking if Xenogears took a shower, I would drink its bathwater. Okay, that's how much I enjoy Xenogears. But the thing is, if Xenogears comes out, and they're like, sure, Graph, for instance, from Xenogears is a powerful unit, but I'm not gonna be bringing Graph to Clash of Wills, and I'm just gonna be bringing him to DV, which is actually content I don't like that much. So I'm in this weird situation where I would really want to pull for these units just for the nostalgia, just for the collection factor, but the game is really pushing me towards like not pulling for them, and that
Yeah.
makes me sad.
I mean, it obviously sucks for people who want to use those units and want them to be good, but I think it's in a way it's healthy to kind of show these companies that like you have to do more than just release the sprite. Nobody's going to pay for the sprite. If we want the sprite, we can just look it up on Google. You have
Sure.
to put effort into designing the unit. And
Right. No, no, no.
I,
I
I,
get it.
I
I
don't
get
know.
it.
I don't know if it's going to change their behavior, but who
And I
knows?
mean, I'm gonna also say I'm not specifically opposed to them having two different content types that they build units for. That's actually pretty common in many gachas where you would have, for instance, units specifically designed for PvP and PV, or units specifically designed for one PV content and another PV content. So that's normal. I'm not complaining about that at all. I just feel that the other content is bad. I think
Well,
that's the problem,
it's
right?
that the other content is bad, and the units that are good in Clash are also good in Dark Visions, but the units that are good in Dark Visions are generally bad in Clash. So it
Yeah,
doesn't go
yeah,
both
exactly.
ways.
No, no, that's exactly what we said in the beginning, right? Like that the clash units are actually overall good. And that makes it difficult because like the smart thing in the game right now is definitely to pull on the cow units because you're going to get units that are going to like you're going to get a bit lower rating but like I mean bit lower rating, what the fuck are we talking about? Like Lara and Carton haven't left a DV team since they came out. So and it's not like Sky does low damage, for instance. So
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure that it's even like an argument. To be honest, it's you should just go for the cow units. And if cow units were just for cow, it would definitely be more balanced. As in, like everything just scales off morale very heavily, but the base damage is kind of on the level that the if the base damage is around a 150 or a 200x LB modifier, just use LB modifiers as an example, that'd be fine. Because then you can still like use these units in DV and get a fair score, but you're gonna get a much higher score, bringing Sephiroths and Tyvuses and so on.
Hmm.
But that's not what's happening though, because like they're doing approximately the same damage instead, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a tuning thing. Maybe Gumi just needs to tune it a bit better. Like Louise, for instance, you wouldn't bring her anymore to DV unless you're doing a fire team because then you have to fucking bring her because she's so good. But like for damage, you're not really bringing her for her damage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. I think Cow has done a lot to the game, and I think some of the things like Cow as content is amazing, but I don't think all the things Cow has done to the game is positive in that sense.
Yeah, it's like Clash of Wills is inarguably the best thing that Gumi has done in years. But that
Absolutely.
doesn't
And it's
necessarily
my idea,
mean
so I'm super happy about it, right? Like I came up with it. Solely my idea, so I'm gonna take all credit. Okay, sorry.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I do think that part of that is that Clash of Wills is good. Part of it is that everything else they've done is god awful. Like
Right.
both Alum and Gumi for the past couple of years have given us almost nothing to work with. There's been like a couple trials which they stopped doing quite a while ago, um, and then Alum just stopped putting in any effort whatsoever. And Gumi has been putting out Clash of Wills, which is fine, but the fact that it's a ranked event makes it unappealing in a lot of ways to a lot of people. And it does
Right.
appeal a lot to the people who pay them the most money. So I get why they focus on it, but like I'm at the point where I barely care about most of the content we get. I often don't participate in DV. Sometimes I skip Clash of Wills even because like I could clear it, but it's without the unit I'm basically copying a YouTube clear. And if I'm not pushing for ranking, then like what's the point?
Yeah, this is kind of part of the point I was bringing up with Sinzar in a previous Tuesday Newsday, where I was really trying to elaborate on how I felt about the game, because that's exactly it, right? Like if you just want to clear Cow and you don't have the Cow unit, what you need to do really is look at like one of Sinzar's clears or somebody else's clears, because the AI is so convoluted and specific to the Cow unit of that week that you really just need to copy it. Like you can't go in blind and have fun. That's the big problem, because if you go in blind and try to have fun, you're not gonna have fun. You're gonna have a miserable fucking time. So
Yeah.
I think that needs to change. Like there needs to be a way for. I think I proposed this in the same Newsday, where I would like so that boss AI that is tailored specifically to that cow unit be as EX modifiers. So, for instance, like if the boss is going to require you to hit it with 5 elements, Tiana's thing, right? Although that was arguably much easier to do, because there are mechanics in this game that let you do that anyway, even if you don't have Tiana. But anyway, like what if that was an EX modifier? Like it was an EX modifier that maybe gave 80% score. So you really, really want it for high scores, but you don't have to bring it to just have fun and explore a trial. Do you know what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, yeah. Although I mean, I suggested this before. I don't think they're going to do it. But what I would want is them just release it as a normal trial, and then they have a 2 week event where it's scored. But after that, the trial sticks around. Just let people keep doing it after the event is over.
Yeah, that's true. Why aren't they doing that? That should be like that's
Because
such a free
they
thing to
want
do.
they want there to be FOMO. They want people to feel like they have to log in and play this boss or it'll be gone forever.
Oh, okay, okay, sure, sure. But I mean, if they just added it permanently and just gave like no rewards, it's just you can just run it whenever you get 100 lapis or whatever, then like you're still missing the huge rewards of Cal, right? There's still FOMO there, because I mean, it's still one free NV, a ton of other rewards like
Yeah.
lapis, like tickets and so on. So I think
It's
that
also it's also probably a thing of I would imagine that they have QA testing where every time they add a new mechanic or whatever, they go back and test every single boss. So the more permanent bosses there are, like that lengthens their QA cycle. So I can see why from that context they might not want to leave in like an extra 12 bosses a year.
like did this break
Yeah.
boss 25. Yeah, I don't know.
I
I'm
mean
not sure I buy the argument that they actually do that though,
I
because
don't know.
like
I mean have they ever like they've added a lot of mechanics. I'm trying to think if it's ever broken an old boss. Like the closest thing is them disabling Chamber of Arms.
I mean, broken as in made the game unplayable would be one thing, but I'm gonna argue that like when we could gear full evasion, that broke a shit
Yeah,
ton of
but like
bosses.
it wasn't buggy.
No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. No, okay. From that aspect, yeah, absolutely. Like you would have to kind of confirm that the game doesn't crash if you try to open Shinryu, right? Because
Yeah,
they just added preemptive brakes, for instance, right? That's a relatively new
yeah,
mechanic they added. So okay, I get what I get what you're saying. So the less permanent content, the better for them. Yeah, I mean That's actually true, and I actually play a lot of gachas, and I don't know why. I think I need help, Muspel. I really think I need help, but I do play a lot of gachas, and actually, like a rotational schedule is pretty common in many gachas, where
Yeah,
you wouldn't have the entire chamber open, right? Like you would have like one of the bosses for this month, and then you're gonna have to wait for the next month or this week or whatever it is, right? And then QA becomes easier because you would only have to test the boss that is open for this app version, which makes sense.
yeah, but yeah,
But I don't
I
know. Like
mean,
I mean, at some point, FFB is feeling its age. Like we can't ignore that. This is a
yeah,
game that has stuck around for many years, and Gumi and Alim didn't really have a vision for the game sticking around this many years, right? Because like if you design a gacha today and you're gonna be like, okay, this is gonna run for 25 years, right? You're gonna be thinking about things like these, like, okay, how do we do QA when we have 25 years of content, right? Like, how do we do
yeah,
that? And then you're going to be like, okay, well, obviously, we're not going to be having all the trials active at all points. Like, the only thing we want to do regression tests on is like the story. Maybe not even that is unlocked always, and so on and so on, right? That's kind of they never did that. So we have this glorious mashup of 15 different types of trials and content and chambers that are completely irrelevant now. Like imagine the cognitive overload you get as a new player today and you just open the tabs in Vortex.
yeah. There's so much stuff in there.
I mean, like it's
and
like,
and
do I
and
go
it,
for
it
like
intimidates a
guild?
lot of
Like,
players. Like you'll see
of
new
course.
players that say, "I haven't done any of the trials yet," and it's like, go do the ones that are at the bottom of the list. You will have
Like,
a hard time not accidentally killing them.
yeah, exactly. Because like you can just take any fucking unit now with the free gear that we get from any mogging and just like destroy it. Sure.
Yeah,
But these guides don't exist, right? And also like there's really nothing stopping Gumi from removing old content either. Just reworking it. Like, hey, we're removing these bosses. They're gonna come back in some other rotation or whatever. Like, keep the game fresh for new players. It's not what they're doing, and I mean, I wonder just how much life FFB has left. I don't know. I
yeah.
keep
I
asking myself that.
Mobile games do seem to generally stick around for a long time, unless they've like unless they never took off in the first place. But mobile games that were once popular, I think their whales just stick around, and that's all they need to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, and there is like the big thing for FFB is really the nostalgia and the Square Enix characters as well. So that like they're gonna have
Yeah.
that for a long time.
That might
Um,
make it more likely to shut down though, because they might like have to renew the license at some point and decide it's not worth it. I don't know how
true,
their licensing
true.
deal works,
But I'm
but
still
I
wondering
don't.
because like I know that Gumi's having financial problems right now because they've had crypto investments and initiatives that really didn't take off. So they lost a lot of money on crypto, even though
Wow,
they made fan. Sorry.
who could imagine that you would lose a lot of money on crypto?
Yeah, who could have? Like, you know what? There is a part of me that's just like actually happy knowing that Gumi are crypto bros because it kind of, makes my world vision right. Like the way I see them is correct when I think of them as crypto bros. Anyway, I'm thinking like this. So we know Gumi is suffering from these poor crypto investments, even though, and this is the interesting thing, like we have this short-term revenue focus only because they fucked up with their crypto investments. Because the games they were running made more money last year than they did the year before. Right? They're making more money. It's just that they screwed up. Anyway, Alim is not part of that. Or wait, or does Gumi own Alim? How does that work?
As I understand it, Gumi owns Alim, and
Oh,
Alim
okay,
makes
okay.
FFBE, and then there's like a subsidiary of Gumi that is under Alim's authority that makes the global version of FFBE or something like that. I don't know. It's confusing.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Never mind. Because I was gonna
So
propose like if
it's
Alim was
it's just like an Ouroboros of gotcha bullshit.
right, right. Well put. Um, Yeah, I was just thinking like, okay, maybe Alim would have more freedom to, start working on an FFB too. But no, because if they're owned by Gumi, all of them are in the shitter right now thanks to poor crypto investments, meaning that nobody is going to innovate anything. They're all going to like focus, at least in the short term, or at least for this year, right? To show some good results for next year on revenue. And then maybe next year we could see like investments going towards FFB too. Like because I really would love to see a modern version of FFB. I honestly would. Like I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's probably pretty much all we've got to talk about this week. So.
We've talked about a lot more than what we should have talked about. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah. Next
But to
week
everyone
we'll
brave
probably
enough
have
to,
new units, hopefully good ones, but probably not.
yeah, would is cow? Oh, is it cow time already? No, 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 no. It will be DV time next week, right?
Yeah, maybe Vision World. So who
Yeah,
knows?
or Vision World. We know it's Vision, or
Yeah.
they didn't. Okay, okay. So next week could
Katy
be
Perry.
Xenogears or Katy Perry. Yes, yes. But honestly, thanks to everyone sticking with us for 53 minutes. That's a fucking feat and a half, since the only thing we've done is like whine and theory craft about the game. But if you're still listening, I love you.
If you're still listening, I'm sorry. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.